I'm Kenzie. I'm standing in my apartment, a new set of keys warm in my hand. The rooms are quiet, the air's still. For the first time in months, there's no shouting, no judgment, no weight pressing down on my shoulders. This place that was once a battleground is now mine alone. It all started when my husband Ethan's parents, Clara and Victor, came to stay. Ethan is a mid-level manager at a traditional firm, and I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work long hours at home, often pulling all-nighters to meet client deadlines. My job pays well, in fact, more than Ethan's, but to Clara and Victor, it's like I'm not working at all. Clara is a very opinionated and old-fashioned woman. She believes a woman's place is in the kitchen, taking care of her husband and home. Victor is more silent, but just as judgmental. He has a taste for heavy, rich foods, while I prefer light and healthy meals. They were supposed to stay for a short visit, but it turned into an endless nightmare. Every morning, at exactly 7 o'clock, Clara would barge into my room. Her voice, sharp as a knife, would shatter the silence. 7 o'clock and you're still asleep. Get up and make me breakfast right now. She'd shriek. I'd jerk awake, my heart pounding. I'd worked until 4 a.m. the previous night on a big project, but to her, my exhaustion didn't matter. She saw me as lazy, unworthy, a wife who refused to fulfill my real duties. Over the past 3 weeks, the air in the apartment had grown heavier with every passing day. Clara would constantly complain about how I wasn't raised right. She'd dismiss my career as playing on the computer, no matter how many times I explained that I spent 16 hours a day at my laptop managing clients' projects across the country. Victor was no better. When I served him grilled fish or vegetable stir-fry, he'd grunt and push the plate away, muttering, "What kind of wife serves this rabbit food?" I tried so hard to endure. I told myself that losing my temper would only make things worse, that biting my tongue was the price of peace. But 3 weeks of this was wearing me thin. I'd given up my quiet mornings, my normal routine, and most of my sanity just to avoid another confrontation. One morning, after being jolted awake and ridiculed yet again, something inside me snapped. I walked into the living room, my face pale but my voice sharp and steady. "Enough," I said. "You have 30 minutes to pack your things and leave my home." Clara was stunned. She blinked a few times, then her eyes narrowed, and her lips curled into a sneer. "This is Ethan's apartment. You don't get to throw me out of my son's place. You're nothing here." Victor grunted in agreement from the kitchen. I stepped closer, my voice low but unshakable. "This apartment was bought with our savings, and we're still paying the mortgage together. Your son couldn't have done it alone. You didn't give us a single dollar, so don't act like I'm living in some gift you handed down." Clara's face flushed red. "All you think about is money. You're ungrateful and selfish." I cut her off. "I think about fairness. Your guests here, nothing more. I won't live another day under your insults." I knew I couldn't win this fight alone. Ethan wasn't home yet, and facing his parents without his support was a battle stacked against me. They would twist my words, escalate the situation until I was cornered. But I'd drawn my line in the sand. I slipped into my jeans, tied my hair back in a messy knot, and grabbed my laptop bag. Without another word, I walked out of the apartment. The door shutting behind me felt like a small act of liberation. I found refuge in my favorite downtown cafe. I ordered a black coffee and set up my laptop, trying to lose myself in work. But my phone started buzzing with notifications. It was Clara, sending a stream of vicious messages. Insults like lazy, worthless, and a disgrace filled my screen. One message in particular sent a shiver down my spine. "You'll regret the day you crossed me. Maybe sooner than you think." I took screenshots of every message, labeled them with the date and time, and then blocked her number. I knew I needed evidence if things got worse. I then messaged Ethan. "I'm at the cafe downtown. We need to talk. Come here tonight." I placed my phone face down on the table and closed my eyes. I was exhausted, but a sense of clarity was taking root. I couldn't live in that toxic environment any longer. When Ethan arrived at the cafe at 6 o'clock sharp, he looked tired, but his exhaustion was laced with irritation. He slid into the booth across from me and asked, without even a greeting, "What did you and Mom fight about this time?" I sat upright, my voice calm but resolute. "Ethan, this isn't just another fight. I want your parents to leave. Tonight. I can't live like this anymore." He leaned back, crossing his arms, his jaw tightening. "You're exaggerating. Mom's not well. Dad's stressed out. They don't mean everything they say. And now you're pushing me to throw them out. Do you want me to abandon them?" I felt my chest tighten. This was exactly what I'd feared. He wasn't defending me. He was taking his mother's side. "I'm not asking you to abandon them. I'm asking you to draw a boundary. They've insulted me, invaded our home, and you've done nothing to stop it. If you want to support them, rent them their own place, but they can't stay in our apartment any longer." Ethan's eyes hardened. "This is my home, too. I have just as much right as you do to invite my parents to stay. You don't get to dictate who I let through that door." That was the final straw. I felt the heat rise to my face, but my voice remained steady. "If they don't leave, I will. And if I leave, Ethan, I won't be coming back. I'll file for divorce." He was taken aback. "Are you serious? You're making me choose between my family and my wife. Do you even hear yourself?" I held his gaze. "You're wrong. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to respect me enough to not force me into a hostile environment every day. I'm asking for the bare minimum to feel safe in my own home. If you can't give me that, then what do I have left in this marriage?" His silence told me everything. He wasn't considering my words. He was trying to figure out how to make me submit. I stood up, slinging my bag over my shoulder. "Think about what I said. Either they leave, or I do. If I walk out, it's for good." I left him sitting there, the reflection of the cafe's neon lights flickering across his face. For the first time in a long time, I felt the ground steady beneath my feet. I knew my marriage was beyond repair. The divorce was finalized relatively quickly, but the issue of the apartment became a long, drawn-out battle. The court determined that since the apartment was bought during our marriage with joint savings and a mortgage in both our names, it was marital property and should be split evenly. I moved into a small studio across town. It was modest, but it was mine, a place where I could breathe without the constant intrusion of Clara and Victor. Ethan stayed in the apartment, but as weeks turned into months, he started falling behind on his mortgage payments. I kept up with my half of the mortgage, but I could see the storm gathering. The bank started sending overdue notices. Ethan insisted he could handle it, but his actions said otherwise. Finally, the bank initiated foreclosure proceedings. I knew I had to act. I gathered all the evidence of my consistent payments, my income records, and the screenshots of Clara's abusive messages. I met with the bank's representatives and offered to cover the outstanding balance and restructure the mortgage under my name alone in exchange for full ownership. The negotiation was tense but short. The bank was eager to avoid a lengthy foreclosure process, and my offer was the simplest solution. Ethan's 50% share was significantly reduced because of his delinquency, and I bought him out for far less than the property's worth. When Ethan found out, he was furious. He accused me of trickery and betrayal and filed a lawsuit. But the court dismissed his complaint. Everything I'd done was legal and well documented. Clara and Victor were also enraged. They called, wrote letters, and even showed up at the building, shouting about how their family's home had been stolen. But they had no legal standing. Now, standing in this apartment, I look around and remember every insult, every tear-filled night. But those memories no longer hold power. This apartment is a symbol of my victory, my independence, and my new beginning. In the months that followed, I focused on my work. Without the daily chaos of Clara and Victor, and without the constant tension of waiting for Ethan to turn on me, my projects flourished. I took on new clients, expanded my portfolio, and built a financial cushion. I also met Leo. We crossed paths at a networking event. He's a software engineer, confident but humble. Our first conversation was about work and our favorite hiking spots. There was something in his eyes, a steadiness that I'd been searching for. We started meeting for coffee, then dinners. Leo never pushed me, never demanded anything. He listened to me, respected my boundaries, and understood my past. As our relationship deepened, he suggested we move into my condo. At first, I hesitated, remembering the pain and battles. But as I stood in those rooms beside him, I realized the apartment had transformed. It was no longer haunted. It was ready to become a home. We moved in together on a crisp autumn weekend. Boxes were piled in the living room, and our laughter echoed down the hallway as we playfully argued about where to put the bookshelves. That night, as we sat on the couch surrounded by unpacked boxes, I looked around and felt a peace I hadn't felt in years. Divorce wasn't a failure. It was the doorway to freedom. With Leo's hand resting warmly over mine, I could see a future built on mutual respect and quiet love. This condo is no longer a battlefield. It's the foundation of a new beginning.